Are we good? We rolling?
You're rolling, baby.
Alright, you lovely lot. Welcome back to NE1's Mental Health Podcast with me, Ray Elliott, and my good pal and co-host, Sam Warner. You alright, Sam?
I'm wonderful, yeah, really good. Really good, thank you, Ray.
It's been a while since we had a bit of Geordie off you, mate. Go on.
Well, you know what it is, Ray. I'm here. There you go. I think the listeners have had that. I'm limited. I'm limited.
It's funny because after this podcast, you are shooting off to soak up a bit more of the Geordie culture, aren't you? You're going to the Cathedral on the Hill, aren't you?
I'm going to the Cathedral on the Hill.
Is that the first time you've been?
To watch War Lasses.
You're going to watch the lasses play football. You're taking the family, eh?
Family's
proper
there, yeah.
Indoctrine into the northeast.
Yeah, well, my little lassie, she's just started playing. She's 7. She's just started playing for Blythetown under-8s. And football's just took over since I've moved up here. We have just become black and white blood. And, we're off to St James's to watch the lasses play against Southampton in the... Is it Super League, their league, the Premier, the division, Super Division or something?
I've no idea, mate. I think they've went up a notch, haven't they?
Yeah, it's a vibe, yeah. So my little lassie will be ecstatic.
Yes.
And the lads will get a wake up as well because they'll be like, shit, these girls are fucking good.
Talking about vibes, it is a vibe and you're going to be bringing the vibes, but we are bringing the vibes today because we are absolutely buzzing to be joined by Amy and Chris from Good Vibrations Northeast. How the devil are you?
Yeah, good today.
Real. Have to be called different seat and sluice. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, we are using mics today. So you've been, I think they call it God's country, seat and sluice, because that's where I live.
Yes.
And you've been for a dip in the North Sea, yes. Before you came here.
I feel great, but it was testing this morning. I'm not going to lie.
It was all frosty this morning, wasn't it?
It was 2 degrees in Stanley when I head over, so I thought I'd nearly jump back into bed. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. And then we're going to, but honestly, I'm glad I've done it. I feel
them endorphins are still buzzing, man. Hours after, aren't they?
Say that other 2 cups of coffee, I'm not sure.
He's got the rattle on.
That's what happens this time of year, though, isn't it? Because all that heat that it's stored up. I mean, we haven't really had a summer but you know, a lot of people think as the weather turns, so does the sea temperature, but that's not really the case because it has this like stored heat. So when we're getting in, because I surf quite a lot and get in the water all the time, and you're like, wow, it's really warm, but the temperatures are cold outside, but now it's starting to sort of catch up, isn't it? And, and you're not getting out in the sun's,
it was like the wind chill when you come out, and like I was getting the burn, and it was just like, whoa, but no, we've got to get back at it, don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
So I'll join hence soon, probably.
Good Vibrations Northeast, you are bringing together communities around the Northeast and you are showcasing all sorts of holistic wellbeing practitioners and you're putting on events, so that's how we met. So give a little bit of a backstory. We are in the wonderful Karma Coast today, which is a great setting where we normally shoot the podcast. But Amy, you reached out and you were like, look, we've got this event, Vibe into Wellness at Beamish Hall. Would you guys be interested in coming shooting a couple of podcasts? Mm-hmm. And we were like, yeah, absolutely. Went along. What an amazing event that was. Met some fantastic people. And, you know, it's funny because when we started doing this, we done it because we wanted to showcase people in the Northeast, and you think, oh, well, there's, you know, it's a little place, there's not that much going on, until you go to something like that and you realise,
wow, mind blowing, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot going on.
So much in our area,
And it was aptly named Vibe into Wellness because the vibe, we were parked in the entrance of the you know, at Beamish Hall.
The lobby, it's gorgeous.
The lobby, beautiful
gorgeous building.
Yeah.
And you can probably hear it back on the last 2 podcasts.
Yeah, there's like Nick and Adam,
yeah. If people coming in and everyone had their yoga mats and then you'd see them coming back from a session and they're just like all zen and buzzing and that glow like buzzing around the place, and it was amazing. But tell us a little bit more about how that was born, how you guys thought about that concept, brought it to life, because I love what you're doing. I really love it.
Yes.
Give us a little bit more of an insight.
Christopher.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, me and Amy's known each other for quite a while. We used to knock around together, didn't we, when we were like 18, 19?
Mm-hmm.
Just pull that mic up to your mouth, Chris.
Yeah, so like obviously I've known Amy since we were like 18, 19. And then obviously like mates, you know, they're separated, everybody does their own thing. But then it was probably just round about lockdown, wasn't it?
Was it just coming out of lockdown or something?
Possibly.
Somewhere around there?
Yeah, and obviously she reached out to me. She'd been having a tough time.
Yeah.
And I'd been on a bit of a downward slope as well. So then obviously we just kept in contact with each other, just basically mentioning good things that can help, like cold water, different things, just different. And then it was like, do you want to go to this wellbeing event up at Gosforth Racecourse? So we met and we went up.
Yeah.
Rosalind went up there with us as well, and we went up and we went in. It was good. There was plenty, but we met some really nice people there, like Richard and Norman and the Crystal Cave and stuff, didn't we?
Yes.
So basically, obviously, Amy's like family owned Beamish Hall.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
so that's the connection with Beamish Hall.
It
Yeah.
is.
So,
Wow,
and then
amazing.
basically, we both come out of it thinking the same thing. Like, listen, why can't there's something happen there like this?
Yeah,
Like basically on
yeah.
a bit of a bigger scale. And then it went from there, really, didn't it?
Yes, down the rabbit hole we go.
Down the rabbit hole we went. Aye.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
so, like, just two mates had found your own sort of ways to manage your own well-being.
I think we were just both were, with me, I was coming quite heavily out of a mental breakdown.
Right, okay.
And I was just kind of like, shit, what is this? How do I deal with this? What the hell's anxiety? What the hell's a panic attack? And then trying to figure out what all of that is and who can you talk to, because I think when you're sometimes talking to some people they get scared. It's like they almost see you as something fragile a little bit sometimes,
Yeah.
which is fair enough. So it was trying to navigate all of that myself without having people that I could really talk to. And then I was just trying different things. And then it was a certain type of medicine where I thought, I know who might know a little bit more about that. And then we just started having a bit crack. And he was like, actually, I've been struggling a bit. So then we just started having that banter back and forth of like, you know what, I've tried some breath work. Have you ever heard of like doing breath work and stuff that can really like help calm you down, regulate your nervous system? And then I would send him a message and then he would find something and we going, right, okay, have you tried this? Have you heard of this? And we're just shooting shit all the time.
For about 6, 7 months on it. Just, do you want to do this? Do you want to meet for a coffee? Bit crack? Do you know what it is?
And then other people were
just keeping
hearing
an eye
it.
on each other, really.
Yes. And then other people were like, what the shit are you doing now? And we were like, why are you dunking yourself in the see every 5 minutes? And it was like, right, okay, well, this is mint. And it was a case of we realised that a lot of the circles that we were in, nobody knew naught about now. And there was a lot of people, once you started talking to them, were struggling themselves.
Yes.
But didn't say naught.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? We thought, how do we make this accessible to our type of people, to our group of friends in our area? Because it's like, we're not too, what's the right way of describing it? We're not too like hippy-dippy, or we're not too like well-versed in how you're supposed to be speaking on behaviour. No, we're just everyday Joe blogs. And we thought, there's a lot of people out there like us. So how do we, maybe we just talk in our language and the way that we're finding
Be
things.
the bridge to them people.
And then they can relate. Do you know what I mean? And that's as simple as it's been.
Also, like if we thought if we go and do it and let people know we're doing it, how many more click on and start doing it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it was, we started to get like little groups, didn't we? Go in the dipper club. We set a little group up, Canny Dippers. Before we knew it, there was 3 of us, then there was 10 of us, then there was 12 of us, and it just, people would just jump, you know what I mean? But
We've just talked about this on a podcast about actually doing something.
Yeah.
You know, it's all right talking about something or seeing.
Reading, looking.
But you have went, right, you know what? We're
Get
just
on
going to
with
do it. Let's go out and do it. Let's jump in that body of water. And like you say, things start happening then, doesn't it? 3 people, then 10 people.
Yeah.
Then it's a proper community. It's a
Yeah.
movement.
Yes,
And
yeah.
the people you meet. I mean, look, this is the power of that, isn't it? You know, just reaching out, doing an event, and then meeting people and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an incredible thing when you just think, actually, I've got the balls to go out and do it and document it. And like you say, just normal people doing... So I don't know. I don't want to say like extraordinary things.
You
No,
got
but
me
anybody
thinking
can do
there, Amy,
anything
about-
if they just crack on.
Have you got any history? Because the logistics of that Good Vibrations, the amount of people that you're organising, have you got any
Yes.
background in that? Just that?
Just a little bit.
Right.
Just might have had 20 years at it, yeah.
Oh, right, there you go then. Because that was a feat, that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, so it's originally I started in like arts, so it's like went to college, went to uni, did graphics, and then my dad got the hotel, which was a derelict building and things at the time.
Really?
So then we just had to learn the trade. So we just like restored it, and then all of a sudden, shit,
Wow.
you've got people coming. How do you run a hotel? And then as it gets bigger, and you've got like little niches, I've always been quite creative. I was like, right, okay, what events can I create? Like that kind of itches me little creativity side. Do you know what I mean? So it's like we had some scare attractions, we had some Christmas ones, and everything else in between.
Yeah.
But then as I've slowly kind of exited it or wanting to get away from it a little bit, going, I'm 40 now. Do you know what I mean? It's like this isn't aligned with me anymore. Wellness is a big thing, right? Okay, how do I do that?
Yeah.
Like, what's my interpretation of it?
Yeah.
To start off with, anyway.
So you've got a creative background then in terms of the arts and sort of that outlet for you.
Yeah.
We
And then
college together, didn't we?
Yeah.
were you at art college as well?
Graphics and advertising, aye.
Yes.
Wow.
So is
Carpet fitting now, like, I don't know what happened there.
Oh, well, that was
No,
my
but
dad's
it's the same
thing.
thing. You're using skills.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That was my dad's thing, carpet fitting. So tough job, man.
It is.
It is
When
a
you're hitting
tough-
45, it's tough.
Yeah. But I love that. So you were part of the whole process of Beamish. And the funny thing is, that Beamish Hall, me and my wife had stayed there, I think it was like 2 or 3 months before.
Yes.
And I was like, what an amazing place. How have I not known about this?
Yes.
And then weirdly, when you messaged, and I'm like, oh my God, what a perfect spot for it.
Yes.
And what I found funny when we were at that event, like, there's so many like nooks and crannies. You turn around the corner and then all of a sudden, there's some like breathwork stuff going on, and you're just like, whoa, this is absolutely amazing. But you bring in, and we've spoken to many people on this podcast who've had like, you know, a passion or a hobby.
Yeah.
And then they've just had that sort of epiphany, just like you were saying, Chris, where I'm like, actually, can we do something with this?
Yes.
And then they've turned it into something, and they're doing something with it, you know. And I think that's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Because you're doing what you love.
Yes.
Really.
Yeah,
It's doing what you love, but
your
it's also
creativity
kind-
taking you into that journey where you said you had a breakdown, which if you're happy, comfortable, we'll talk about that. But
Here we are.
leading but you've stepped into like the wellness environment, like you said. You maybe in circles, like I know I was in a circle where I wanted to sort of break habits or like negative bullshit I kept doing, and it's difficult because everywhere I looked it wasn't there. But it's interesting your creativity's led you in, because that's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Because the thing that took you in the beginning has then taken you into a new realm, and you get to use the creativity in this making yourself feel better.
Yes, yeah.
Because it's funny.
It's her work ethic as well, mate. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't stop.
The graft.
Aye. Yeah.
I'll get slightly obsessed with
She likes
things.
a gold plate, everything.
I mean, that can be rewarding but exhausting at the same time, and you'll have to be super careful.
I'm like, woohoo, and then I'm like, oh my God, and I'm like, woohoo, and oh my God. I think after the first event, I couldn't get out of bed for the couple of days. I was so overwhelmed by it, I just couldn't get out of my blankets.
Do you think that's something that you'll be working on then, trying to find that balance, trying to sort of find...
I think I'm probably going to die finding balance, to be perfectly honest. I don't think I'm ever going to get ahead of it. I've just got to learn to recognise it in myself a little bit.
A little bit sometimes.
Whole family do. It's like my partner constantly just has to grab a hold of us and literally go, get in the bath, put that, whatever your stuff away, and I can't stop me.
Well, you're speaking to your mate here, because
brain does not stop,
I've just come out of a month ago a period where I burnt myself out big time. I didn't realise it was coming, because you don't when you're in that flow, do you?
No.
And, you know, starting a business, 2 kids, not knowing how to say no, because you want to do your best for everyone. And I'm working in a space now that I get to help people, and, you know, it's a mental health space, and I'm like, right, I just want to do everything, you know, and I'm coaching, and I'm doing talks, and I'm spending time away, and I've got my family, and you're not realising what toll it takes. And then my body just said, right, we're going to stop. And I actually thought I was ill. Thought I was ill, but it was my body was just like, nah, we're shutting down a bit here, mate. And I was like, ooh, what is this? I hadn't actually properly experienced it like that before. And for this last month, I've been in bed every night, and I mean exhausted with nothing else to give by 7:30.
Yes.
Sleeping till 6. I've had to rein back on things that I would normally do, like certain things with work and exercise even. I've just had to give myself back and eating right. And I really feel like I've come out of it now, but
have guilt with it.
100%.
So looking after yourself and taking that time. I have guilt. I have guilt with it still.
Yeah.
It's a weird frigging thing, isn't it? It's it's really poorly, and you know you've got to do it, but you're guilty about it.
Well, if you can't look after yourself, you can't look after anyone else, can you?
That's truthful, but it's hard to take.
That's what I learned. Because I was like you, I couldn't say no. I was running 2 football teams. I was like, obviously, I've got my own business, and it was just yes.
Yeah.
Crash. You know what I mean? That's when obviously we met up. And it was just like I said, you're hard on yourself. Because you just think I've let them down, I've let this, but another thing is what you were saying, you want to do it yourself because it's not a trust thing. It's just it'll be done right, and and it's just. But you've got to like allocate. You've got to pass things over to protect yourself.
And it's funny because when you do that and you make that conscious thing where you're like, right, I've got to say no here, and then you say it, and then you're like, oh. The world hasn't fell apart, and these people are still my friends, and they're still going to come back, and I can still do this, and like I'm coming to it now, looking back on it, thinking, oh, I really, but like you say, absolutely say what you say. Like my partner is the same. She's like. She knows when. I'll give you an example, right? We're doing the house up as well, which is probably another thing that's led to it.
That'll be a contributing factor, won't it?
But she knows when I get in that mindset and I go, she'll let us go because she knows I could get like 6 weeks work done in 6 days. Like that's what I'm like. But she'll also say to us now, and this has took years, where she's like, Ray, actually, you're going to have this weekend off. And I'm like...
that's credit to Harriet, because that's like recognising the pattern, especially when you live together long term and you recognise the pattern, because actually, getting 6 weeks worth of work done in the 6 days, but actually it might take you 6 weeks to be a recognisable person again, which has an impact on the family.
That's not funny, I'm
but it kind of is, isn't it? Well, I think it is, Amy, because we're all doing it, aren't we? We're all guilty of it. And I think this kind of conversation where we can all bring it in and say, do you know what? Yeah, I can be fucking selfish. I can be blinkered. I can not give myself rest or whatever. Like to know we all do it, I think it's reassuring, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing having this conversation, being that open, like you are there, and saying, "I've been there, I've done it."
Yes.
And that's what we're trying to do, is break down stigmas, isn't it? I think that's what you were alluding to before. There's this massive stigma around saying, I've struggled, or I'm going through this.
For me, it gets around about this time of year, and I feel the same most years. It's because obviously I'm busy at work. It's my busiest period. And then, like I say, lack of vitamin D. And
100%.
Dark nights, everything going grey and cold.
And you just, like what I was saying, you want to be in bed by 8 o'clock and just get the day over, and then on to the next. It's like...
Do you feel like it's just a chemical imbalance? Because that's how I feel every year. I always used to say...
the sunshine for me, I think.
I always used to say it's Halloween. I hate Halloween.
What?
People are
Get away from me.
But it's symbolic. But it wasn't the Halloween. It was the
symbol of the start of the time.
Somebody said to us, right, 2 years ago, the clocks changed then. And I was just like... No, never really correlated those two things, but that was 100% what it was as well. What
happens as well is when you're lacking, you crave carby foods and warm foods and stuff, and then that's a knock-on effect as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I think we should just hibernate from November.
I am. I've got a safety package.
You've been doing it. Got rations and stuff.
No, I know this is the first year I've gone it. I really am. It's like I've got a strategy for surviving winter. I'm going to try it because it's like I hate it. I can't go through the same thing all the time.
But even saying that, surviving winter, isn't it? It's that mindset, isn't it? Like, I've got to survive and get through it.
Yes.
One thing that was a big thing for me with that is when I got into surfing. A lot of the best waves come around this time of year.
Yes.
So it changed my mindset a bit. I started to look forward to it,
Yes.
Like, that's when I'll be out surfing a lot more. And I wasn't thinking, it's the dark nights and the dark mornings and
distraction.
Yeah, I had, and it did serve as well. And the other thing is, I normally book a holiday this time of year.
I do now.
Do you?
Tenerife, aye.
Do you?
I have mint.
And just a week of just topping up.
I have.
Yeah, do you find it really helps?
I think it's helped me massively because it's kind of, instead of that hibernating, it gives you something to look forward to. And then within the second or third day, you're bright and jolly again. You don't realise how much your mood's dipped because of the sun.
Yeah.
But I love it. I'm not.
You seen them infrared that you hang on the doors, like infrared lights.
Oh, yeah.
Stand in front of it 20 minutes on a morning.
It's called a sunbed, that way.
No.
And you get really brown.
No, it's like basically like it recreates the sunlight. So like Mr. Scott, he says it works a treat.
Yes.
I've heard of these ones where they like wake you up with a morning light sort of thing. It's like.
Yes.
These are like infrared LEDs. There's a full doorway full of
red light, red light therapy.
In front of it, for like 20 minutes, and it just lifts you.
Could you put it above your bed? You can put it above your bed and then switch it on, and in the morning that's how you wake yourself up.
I don't know how you'd hang it like, but
string to the ceiling. Oh, sorry.
We all might forward. Sorry, I'm not going to put my
issues here.
Yeah, you're good. It's just keep it up there because we want to hear your fabulous voice.
Sorry, I'm hugging it.
So it was an interesting point that you made made before about finding these things and find them together and bouncing ideas off each other, and then saying to friends, oh, we've got this thing we're doing. Because I find if you were to say to your mates, fancy going out for a few drinks, they'd jump at it, wouldn't they? Or
yes.
we'll go here and we'll have a coffee here. But when you go, fancy going doing this and going for a walk and then doing a cold dip, and they're just like, what?
Yeah.
What are you giving it? Or you ever thought about meditating? Do you fancy coming to this session with us and doing a sound bath? And people are like, you are
yes.
nuts.
It's a big leap though, isn't it? From like you were saying, having those feelings when you want to break out of whatever it is, your social groups that are kind of like not feeding back to you, and you're having your own internal dialogue about, God, is this it for me? And I don't feel great about it. And then you do find a cold dipping group and you go and do that. And then you bring it back to your mate who you think, oh God, you might like, and they're like, what?
And then
if you haven't had that thought about change, or do you know what I mean? If you haven't considered it, it is a huge leap, isn't it, to like go and get in the North Sea in October to, unless you've thought, oh, this is beneficial.
But like what you were saying with the groups there, like I was running football teams, but like I was like a manager, but I felt lonely. I was like losing track of what I was doing it for. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously when we started meeting up and we started going to Sol's here. Do you know the Sol's cold water therapy just at King Edward's Pier?
Oh, King Eddie's,
on a Sunday morning.
Oh, yeah.
That's when it started. Because we just like, oh, we'll just go there. And then we're documenting it, putting it up, and then I was getting inboxes straight away. Hey, I'll come next Sunday. Come next Sunday. Before we knew it, there was about 14 of us from Stanley going here, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And it was just, honestly, and then that was it. Everybody was documenting it and it was spreading. And then it was class. Like.
And that is the funny thing, right? Because if you're just sat there and you're thinking about it and you're thinking, oh, these things don't exist in the Northeast, then you're getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and you're going to King Eddie's Bay and you're thinking, oh, we're going to be the only ones mad enough to be there.
No,
and you're looking around and there's about 150 people on the beach doing yoga and stuff, and you're like, oh, hold on, there's people actually onto this already, eh?
And is that one, what was it? There's is it shore yoga that go down there, do like a free thing on the morning and stuff, you can just go join in.
That's cool.
There's Souls, there's the
free,
Dip Club. I have free, there's loads of them for free just for community.
Yeah, that's
do you know
amazing.
what I mean? It's mint.
I'm up in Blythe and I made the drive down this morning, and at 9:30 this morning the sun was up, it was gorgeous. I was just saying to Richie on the previous episode, normally I have my phone on, I'll be listening to podcasts or music and whatever, and I had the radio on, which I haven't done for fucking over a decade, and I had Radio 2 on, and it was Michael Bull's Love Hour or something, or Loving. And I was looking at the fucking beautiful coastline that I now live in. Listeners know that I'm not a Geordie. I've only been up here this
your accent tells the story.
You wouldn't know it, mate. But it was just gorgeous. People roller skating, people running, people dog walking, right?
Yeah.
And I'm listening to this radio, and it's the Loving, and it's people ringing up, and it's like, oh, it's me and my wife's golden wedding anniversary, and I just want to tell her how much. And it was people just ringing up and talking about their families and how much they love each other. And it was like because for me, I'd sort of turn the mainstream off, and as we all go on our journeys and we try and rewire ourselves and our core beliefs or whatever, a big part of it for me back in the day was fucking stop reading papers, stop watching the news, stop being told what this is all about.
I have done all that.
Ironically, today, because my phone's broke, and I put the Radio 2 on, and I just listened to this gorgeous fucking 20 minutes on the drive.
Human beings
and
just
I'm pitching
being
myself.
sound.
Yeah, and they just love each other, and we're having a Sunday dinner today to remember me uncle. You know, my wife's done 40 years in HMRC, and she's retired, and I'm really proud of it. And I was just like, it's just lovely. And I'm looking at the beautiful coastline, the beautiful people, and I'm like, I'm really lucky. Fucking, this is my life. I'm going to talk to wonderful people today. I'm off to watch the fucking tune. Oh, we're blessed.
You're having a full on little gratitude going on here. It's like, I can see it's like that where everything's just that bit shinier.
Yeah, and even it's just so simple. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It's when you start wiring yourself to look at those things and think that way,
right
and eventually it starts coming naturally, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it's not some magical thing at the end of the rainbow. You can only get it in California. It's like, no. It's just right. If you stop for a second, I'm healthy, I'm in one piece, do you know what I mean? I've kept the wolf from the door, like the little things. When you can grasp them, like it's like mint. And
I think like as I've getting older, I've realised that like how I live now is I don't worry about the past. I can't predict the future. So it's like just being present now. Do you know what I mean? In the present, and appreciate what I've got.
Yeah.
And take every little day as it comes, and it's helped me massively, that.
If you can do that, brother, you've nailed it.
Yeah.
You've nailed it.
It's a
nailed it. That's
huge foundation, isn't it?
This whole thing, this whole wellness movement about being in the here, in the now.
Yeah.
And that is the thing, isn't it? Because the amazing thing about us as human beings is we've got this amazing memory of things that have happened in the past. And sometimes we can twist and distort that, can't we?
Yeah.
And we live with that, don't we? And torture ourselves about it. And we've also got an incredible imagination about thinking about things in the future. So we're rarely stuck right here,
Totally
right now, are we?
Yeah.
We're always just twisting about what's happening in the future, or what's happening, beating ourselves up about what's happened in the past.
I think it was Ram Dass, wasn't it? Talking about wellness and gurus.
Yes.
Ram Dass, be here now.
Yeah,
Be here now.
Yeah.
So if you were to sort of embody the essence of what Good Vibrations Northeast is, how would you describe it? What would you?
Good God, Christopher.
2 friends on a mission to raise good vibes, pretty much, I think.
Awesome.
Isn't it?
I mean, it changes, doesn't it?
Just like the seasons.
But I think that was predominantly the beginning.
That's what it is. I think it's just to kind of, because I'm not very good at articulating, I guess, what things are and something. It changes obviously with your mood and like that with your language. But it's just to kind of say, like, look, take the time to look after yourself, and this is some ways that you can do it. It's just kind of that little awareness thing. Do you know what I mean? It's nothing more than that. We're no gurus. Just trying to get our shit together on a daily basis.
I love that.
Do you know what I mean? And there's just loads of nice people on different things.
About you, isn't it? Because like you say, you're just working it out, and then you find something that's great, and you go,
That's working
guys,
for
I
me.
did this.
Check it out.
I feel mint after it. And everyone goes, oh well, I'll give it a go.
But everybody's different. It's like, I love breath work. I cannot get him to try because he can't sit still.
I'm not very holistic. I'm more scientific, me. I like to know what's good for my body and why and stuff.
Right.
But it's obviously possibly because of the ADHD, I can't sit still. I'm terrible.
But you dip in, in the cold water.
Yeah.
So do you do any dynamic breathing before you go in?
We do when we go to Sols, but I don't if there's just me and pals going in. Do you know what I mean? We just literally just like get in, really, like have a bit crack and get in.
Yeah.
Like the North Sea takes your breath away, so you've got no choice to do.
Yeah. Don't get us wrong. When I'm in there, I know I've done it that much now. I know to calm and just breathe through my nose, and you know what I mean. Like I can, to be honest, with us being asthmatic, I control me breathing a lot anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? But it's like I think we've just done it that often now. We don't really.
But it works for you on loads of levels. I think that's all it's about, isn't it? It's finding what works for you.
Well,
like
it's
it
more
massively
recovery
works for you.
my body, for me. Like, because I work, like, obviously I'm carpet fitting Monday to Friday, and then I get in there and just everything goes away for a bit.
That's lovely. That's lovely.
It's the social side of it as well,
But
though. It's like you love the
it's
cracking
learning us
stuff
to
as
be
well.
still as well, though, because you're sitting in there breathing for like 4 to 5 minutes. So I'm teaching myself to just sit still, be calm.
The body just takes over, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The nervous system.
So it's a bit of discipline as well. So,
but what you said there as well, Amy, about like you're doing what it is for you, I think that's a good thing to remember. And you've mentioned like the wellness movement, Ray, because it can become all a bit hipstery.
Oh, it can be. Sometimes it can be like, oh, you're in this clique.
People
it's
start
like,
doing it for the content. Do you know what I mean? Like you're taking the photo, and here I am in the water, and like, and that's great.
Yes.
But like, if that is like the thing that gets you there, is like I've got to update my page. Like then there's something.
It's not right.
There's something, and you probably don't get the karmic payback that you really would if it was just, that's the teetering edge we're on. I think a lot is like
it's trendy. It's
and
trendy
that's
to be in
really
wellness in a minute.
Yeah.
Given that you are part of this movement, for you to then actually say, you know what, that's not my bag.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that were at that event isn't for me, and that's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Because you know what works for you and what doesn't, and you're not trying to dress it up by going, oh, I go to every single class in it. Everything has a different benefit for me.
No,
because it's a load of bollocks.
you're not booked in for a naked paint party then.
Maybe in the summer. Once it warms up a bit, like.
But one thing I did want to chat to you guys about is because what you're doing is, by putting on these events, you are creating a space and you're highlighting people who are working or doing fantastic things around wellness in the Northeast, where people can find that group if C dips is what they want to do, or they can find that breathwork group. And I was reading an article. It was really focused on men's mental health in particular, but I think it's applicable to everyone. And they were talking about the need for human beings to have a third place, which, you know, is away from the home environment, which can be stressful, depending on what your situation is. You could be living on your own and not, you know, living with your own thoughts all the time.
Reasons,
or you could have a big family, which is stressful. And then the work environment, you could be self-employed or, you know, work in a hectic office or whatever. So they were saying that the need to have that third space where you can be away from those two places and those stresses. Yeah. And they were saying that, you know, historically a lot of people went to the pub.
Yes.
And, you know, it's not an environment that's conducive to a lot of people. That it can bring about bad habits, but there is definitely a place for it where people can go and if you haven't got an addictive nature, you can sit and have a few beers and have a bit chat and get away from it. And I totally get that, and we're seeing it more and more, aren't we? Pubs are closing down, spaces, youth clubs not a big thing anymore.
That's shocking.
So this third place and this need for this third place is massive, and I think that's where, you know, Andy's Man Club's become huge.
Yes, I like them. They're mint.
Brilliant. And these dip clubs where people are finding a place what, you know,
Sense
gives
of
them that
community
thing where
again.
they can come and have a bit crack.
Social.
Yeah, social element.
need
And
it.
it's a community.
Do you not think COVID has a lot to do with this?
100%.
Oh, it's certainly,
that
it magnified everything, didn't it?
Yeah.
I think it
And I even think getting back to the pub sort of thing, you know, it saw off a lot of the pub trade and whatnot. But people who used to have that thing where they'd maybe just go out on a Sunday and have a few beers and a bit crack with their mates, they stopped doing it. And then they just stopped.
Yeah.
You know, and it just didn't become part of their routine, so they fell out of it. And I think it's vitally important that we all have that place. For me, I love surfing.
Let's make some street parties, eh?
Well, you're doing it. You are doing it. That's what you're doing, aren't you? You are creating these, or you're creating awareness around these people in the region that are doing these, holding these spaces or have these events, or, you know.
I could do better on that front, though, I reckon. Sorry, there I go again.
She's away.
Taking notes. She's got a notepad out. That inner critic's coming out again.
I can't help myself.
She's a thief of joy to herself. That's what she is.
That's an interesting term. That's an interesting term, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think you absolutely embody the bringing the vibes. I think you really do. But again, going back to it, it's easy to be really self-critical, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you feel that? I mean, this is. We are getting into things here. It might be quite a private question.
I'm not a private person.
Do you feel that little voice was part of when you said you had a mental breakdown? Was that a big part of it, or was it?
So I think at the time, obviously, I wasn't in the good vibe space and all the rest of it. I was in the hotel, had been for a long time, and I've got a little boy. He was getting a bit older, and I think what I didn't recognise in myself is because I was quite a driven workaholic. I was always trying to please me dad, and not that came from him. It was a self-induced thing, always like, can I do better, can I push myself, can I do all these things? And then once I had a little boy and stuff like that, I had a massive want to be with him, but then I was trying to maintain the standard of work that I used to be able to deliver, which was just ruthless all the time. It's like I was very passionate about what I did and all the rest of it. And then what I didn't really notice in myself is I was deteriorating. My hair started falling out. I nearly lost most of it at one point, and I never really realised it.
Spreading yourself so thin.
I couldn't. I was having anxiety. I didn't figure out what it was. This is on past reflection, because at the time I couldn't tell you. I didn't know what anxiety was.
You never know in the eye of the storm.
I was round the house. I couldn't breathe. I was having palpitations and things. Again, I just thought, shit, I didn't like putting the fucking washing in. Do you know what I mean? But it's like it got to a day where I remember I was in the bathroom and I was banging my head off the floor because my little voices in my head, I couldn't rationalise them. I was going, I don't want to get up, I can't do it. And then my other little voice was going, fucking pack in, like, you soft cunt, like, get on with it. It's like, you're just going to work. What is going on? And I couldn't control, and I didn't know which was the right and wrong with that voice anymore, which resulted in a really bad panic attack, and it's hitting my head off the floor to where the husband just came in, scooped you up and said, we are going to get help now, you can't do this yourself anymore, Amy. He was like, I've watched you, he says, and this is enough. He says, I've had enough.
What's your husband's name?
Alex. He's amazing. He's amazing. He's such a rock for me, like, bless him. So he's like the little magic man. But anyway, I got myself to talking therapy, because I didn't know where to start. I was speaking to Alex, not a clue. My partner, although he's very good at listening. And then I was speaking to my family, not a clue. And I just didn't know where to go. So I just thought, right, okay, people go to talking therapy for this shit. And then I just...
Did you take something from that, Amy? Was that useful to you, the talking therapy?
I think it was useful for us because what I didn't understand was mental health was a thing. It's like talking in your head is a thing. Personal chitter-chatter is a thing. And then realising potentially some of the baggage that you're carrying and the voice that you're telling yourself about the stuff that you're carrying and all of that. And I just thought, right, okay, I understand this shit now.
Well, having a name for it, you know, like you just said, if you didn't know you experienced anxiety, knowing that was anxiety, knowing that was a panic attack, if you don't know about those things... I would have been
nicer to myself earlier on if I knew that's what was happening and my bag was too full. I didn't fucking clue. I was just...
We literally just talked about this, about how we would never, ever treat anyone or talk to anyone, you know, the way you talk to yourself. Yeah. I'm so harsh on myself. It's just
I'm not now, but I was a twat.
Yeah, and that's...
Yeah, I was a twat. I mean, I still have the occasional twatty.
Well, and also those values, core values that you're carrying that you don't realise are directing you and shaping you. I think Richie pointed that out quite clearly, didn't he? Like, you know, we don't realise until we stop.
Yeah.
And have a look under the bonnet, as they say. You know, you don't look under the bonnet until the fucking car stops.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an interesting insight. Yeah.
I think you distract yourself from it.
Of course.
Don't you?
Yeah.
Like, I think I had to stop everything to like start thinking about myself.
And life's designed for you to not stop,
because it's just like you're always distracted by different things. But I think I used to, like, you know what you were saying before about not saying no. Yeah. I think you put it on to try and protect yourself from doing it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because once you stop still and only got you to answer to, it's, you know what I mean, it's the unknown, isn't it? Sometimes if you're not used to doing it, it's like...
That's a really powerful point, because a lot of people think, you know, they're really productive at work or whatever, or they're really good at the job, but what they are is they're probably addicted to being busy because they're frightened of what that looks like.
If you stop and listen to yourself.
And it can be a scary place.
Yeah, definitely.
In getting back to holistic sort of therapies and, you know, even breathwork or being in the water, is that being still and just being there.
I think it's escapism as well.
Yeah.
I think it's away from, like what you were saying, the daily routines and what you're forced to do.
Yeah.
You know, that's a choice for yourself, isn't it?
You just start unravelling all of it, don't you? So once you start doing therapy, I started realising, well, head on, like, yes, I'm talking about, but what else can you do? What else is out there?
Like
stopped the therapy and tried all the other things,
What I was like saying, like when you're in groups that you don't want to be in, right? Or when you get to a point when you don't want to be in them anymore, it exhausts you, right? And
is this in a social setting?
So this was like, obviously I was running football teams, like I was saying before, and then it got to a point when I couldn't do it no more. I literally had to walk out, right?
Yeah.
But then that changed your life. But then it was like, right, what do I want to do for me instead of doing everything for everybody else?
Yes.
And then you start making your circles. Do you know what I mean? Like what you want to do, and this is what's happened with us, hasn't it? And then you start, like, I got to a point, right, when I was that sick of people, because obviously I work so I deal with people, customers every day. Then it was the football, getting let down by players, this and that, and I literally was sorry, I didn't want to meet any more people. I'm sick. I've got my friends who I know, my friends. I'm done, right? But that was the negative slope I was on.
Yes.
And then once it changed, once we started talking and we started meeting other people, positive people, and then it was like, right, and I got addicted to it. I thought, right, I need a network here. Do you know what I mean? So it was like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and it just changed my whole perception, like right round. And then it was like, right, so if we can pull these positive people together, what could happen here? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that was pretty much what happened, wasn't it?
Yes,
It's a really interesting point, right? And I think a lot of people that are listening might have fell into this trap as well. And I think this happens a lot when you become a parent as well, because, you know, when you've got somebody else and you think, everything I need to do is for them. You
become second fiddle, don't you? Yeah.
And that whole thing about, actually, what have I done recently that I enjoy or have done for me? And I think if a lot of people sat down and asked themselves that question, what have you really done where you've just took some time for you? And ironically, if you don't do that, you cannot show up for them people that you want to be there for. You need to have that time. Me and my wife have been through this. You know, you've been through it in your relationship. And that was a big thing for my wife when she had children. She basically lost who she was, because everything she'd done was just for her kids, and it was, I'm mum. you know. And we sat down. She was like, I can't remember anything I'd done that I just enjoy doing. And then she started getting into that routine of doing things and actually doing them for herself.
That's interesting, Ray, as well, because given what you've just said, Amy, about your point of breakdown is identity of bullshit, go-getter, creative, creating work, doing work, delivering, becoming a mum. And then your internal maternal kind of pull to be with your boy.
Yes.
But then this identity and this life that you do, and sort of where do you go when you're trying to do both things? And then, as you mentioned, Ray, your body tells you fucking that, whoa.
Calm yourself down.
And then you've chosen to educate yourself. So that's something I wanted to ask when you were saying that, actually, Amy. Did you end up using any substances or any coping strategies, or did you just
How honest are we on this podcast?
Can we be openly
You
honest?
guys,
Yeah, but that's what all we're here for, yeah.
We were microdosing.
Yeah.
Magic mushrooms.
Yeah.
Aye. Yeah. So basically, one of the second text message I got off you.
Might have been
Because she went to Wim Hof. She went to Wim Hof and, didn't you?
The Iceman.
That was my big turning
She
point,
went to Spain and went to Wim Hof, and she come back, and obviously there was a lot of talk about psychedelics, and basically she was going, Connell, have you heard about I was in a field picking, as she texted us, right? And I was
Picking mushrooms.
I was picking my Liberty Caps.
Right person.
So then she was like, have you heard anything about my? I was like,
That's
what?
the universal
So I was like,
line,
I was
right
like,
there,
what these? And I sent her a video of me with a bag full in my hand, right?
Oh, that is synchronistic.
Isn't it? Isn't it? The universal call, and and then that because obviously like I was down rabbit hole upon rabbit hole, looking at Paul Stamets, you know,
You following the white rabbit, baby.
I was like, Jordan Peterson, everybody, you know what I mean? I was right down it, and then basically I said to her, listen, like there's a thing called the Stamets stack, which is basically like what was like psilocybin, lion's mane, and vitamin B3, which is niacin. So I started making caps myself. I'm not going to lie.
So what, with like boiling it up and
No,
like,
all you do is I just had a coffee grinder, right? I was getting the mushrooms down to a fine powder, and then I was just basically weighing them up into capsules, and me and her started taking them, didn't we?
We did.
And it gave us a lift massively.
Wow.
And I've got some amazing feedback on that, you know. I shouldn't really.
Honestly, I just love how this has just took a turn, because I am gonna thoroughly enjoy this.
I think we just joked yesterday, didn't we? With you, Ray, about it's not going to be far, mate, and we're going down the DMT rabbit hole.
I've bottled that twice, to be honest.
Right. That's a DMT molecule on my neck.
So funny.
But the psychedelic, I'm interested in this because, again, we all have our own point of perspective and our own journeys, and for me, psychedelics fucking knocked my perception and my sense of self and that dialogue I was having with myself all over the place, and I learned so much about connection, fucking what even are we, the grand scheme of things. I mean, the universal story that you hear.
Yes.
It is. Again, you know, it's interesting because there's the hipster side of that now, you know, where people are having ayahuasca ceremonies, you know, and everyone's taking a photo outside the ayahuasca ceremony, and you know what I mean? Hashtag
I must have missed that hashtag. I've not seen it.
It's out there.
It is trendy because all the celebrities and everything are doing it, and they're talking about how it's changed their life, and not to dismiss that
not at all.
Do you know what I mean? It's got its purpose.
Yes, 100%. Exactly, totally, and that's the juxtaposition I think we were always in. Like you had a bit of trepidation there before you even said it was.
You've got to have a healthy respect for what you're doing.
Because I would imagine it's been a huge part of what's steering you now, having those experiences like that. But yet we don't know if we should really talk about it.
It's one of them, isn't it? But
it's a medicine that can
I'm passionate about it, me, I'll be honest.
But it's so crazy,
that's how I think
it's a natural thing. You're talking about picking it in a field.
Yeah.
Look at the time of year that nature provides it. That's we're about going to win there.
But you don't think it's weird? This is something I found which is weird, right? So you know, like everybody hits a bit of a depressed state when it gets to this time of year, but they come out like just before it.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Is there something there to that or what? I don't know.
Of course, nature provides everything, and it's just like if
you.
I think that's a really important
nature
point.
heals.
It grows from the earth, and it's been used long before we ever put a patent on a pill.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can't put a patent on a fungi or a plant. You can't do it. But what we do is we look at the plant, and then we synthesize a derivative of that plant, and then we patent it, and then we sell it.
Absolutely.
I think it's a big conversation because I think we're in a point in history right now.
Yeah, it might
where
change.
we're seeing big changes across the pond, aren't we? And there's big discussions about psilocybin and the effects.
Aussie, isn't it? Where they've legalised it now, I think.
Yeah, well, have you heard of
it's a
the
medicine over there
association
now.
called MAPS?
Yes,
Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelics, something, I'll never quite. But Rick Doblin, who is the founder of that, I've listened to him to the ends and back, because he's such a pioneer, and the work he has put in to bring MDMA and psilocybin through all the trials over 20-30 year periods to bring them to the fore now, where PTSD and marital, I think MDMA is being used for like counselling and marital, and they're really breaking through now. And with Kennedy, I mean, we don't want to deviate too far into politics here, but it looks like they're really going to push against pharma with these natural substances and actually say, listen, this stuff is here.
Yeah.
But I mean, look how long it's took for medical grade cannabis, and like all these years, and these people struggling. You just think, yes, it works.
It's
it
the
helps
business,
people.
isn't it?
And now I think we really are at this massive turning point, and we'll see where it goes. But I think there's
maybe it's the pressure on the NHS and stuff, right? Has got something to do with it, because obviously there's a lack of staff and people aren't getting looked after properly. So maybe it's like self-care. They're thinking we might have to give in. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Because what I've found, like, honestly, right, I'll tell you now, like me and friends and people I know have done it, right, like microdosed. Honestly, some of the feedback's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I could show you some messages and it would blow your mind.
The anecdotal, our own individual anecdotal kind of feedback is almost always that kind of transition from like, fucking hell, I was asleep and now I'm awake, kind of. That seems to be a universal. And actually now, through MAPS, some of the actual science that's being done, the papers being written, the data they're collecting is that a psychedelic experience is ranked as, alongside birth of children and death of loved ones, as the most profound sort of life-affirming experience people have ever had. And often they're only having one. I mean, you're talking about microdosing. Have you done an heroic dose yet?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I've done over 5i.
Yeah, that's...
No, not me.
Yeah.
She has. I think you've done 3, haven't you?
I've done 3, but it's like, honestly, I can't tell the difference between what the hell's going on.
She gets full UCI max. She gets visuals.
Explain that.
It's like I'm in a bloody art cartoon. It's just like everything, close my eyes, I open eyes, and the whole world.
But here's a really interesting point with the psychedelics is, right, and it isn't for everybody. It's an important point to make, right? We're not here, obviously we're celebrating it because we've got our own individual paths and journeys with it and our own evolutions, but obviously there's bad trips out there, there's the wrong circumstances. We all heard set and setting, and we know all of that, right? So it's not in any way...
Well, the term microdosing, you're probably going to have to sort of quantify that and let people know what that means.
Microdosing being there's a again, this is bioavailable, so it's different people, different things. If you're a fucking 12-stone bloke or a 6-stone lass, right? But essentially microdosing being that tiny amount of the substance that just gives you that acuity, just raises the senses.
0.3 in it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right, and then your senses are raised, and if you
sorry,
you know, a heroic dose on the other end of that scale is lock the door, shut the curtains, and be
talk
prepared.
to us about a heroic dose. And what is
as Terence McKenna would talk about it being, you know, when you're alone, essentially in a dark room.
I'm gonna have to book another hour on the studio.
But essentially, what it is, I guess, in the main is like the willingness, as we mentioned in the podcast with Richie in the previous podcast. Like, if you come to a point in your life where you really want that introspection, you really want to look deeply at yourself, and you know there's some skeletons in there, you know there's some stuff that's been eating away at you that you've got to deal with, and you're willing to deal with it. An heroic dose might be a situation where it unlocks all of the whatever
it's protection
those.
Your brain puts around you, isn't it? Yeah.
There you go.
It's
rewiring. Yeah. I think it's been said like it's like wiping your hard drive, to use an analogy.
It is. It's like a reset button.
Like new system. You've gone from operating system 0.1 to wipe. I've got a new system of operation.
I think what it is, it humbles you. Me. I think what happens is you realise, right, you're something special, but you're like a little something special in a massive thing,
full of special things.
Strips the ego.
So it's like it just blows your mind. You know what I mean? It just blows your mind. It amazes yet humbles you, I think. But I think also for me, when we were taking it, kind of like took the edge off everything. It just kind of it was like, how can I describe it? It's like a calm focus. Just seemed like I was like, because obviously with the Lions, we know like how that works. Like it helps with your REM sleeps, which helps them with your emotion, your cognition. And then like obviously the niacin, I was getting more energy like from my food, because basically it helps get more energy from your food. So
this
I was
is
just
when
feeling
the niacin, is that in
that's a
addition?
vitamin B3. So basically, like we were going like, so it was like 0.2, 0.3 psilocybin. Then we'll go in ratio 2-1. Lion's main vitamin B3.
Fucking hell, this is turning into a science lesson.
I was
Hasn't
gonna
it?
But basically, that Paul Stamets had done a load of like experiments with different ways of doing it, and that was the best way to do it.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I was sleeping better. I was focused at work. I was like little things like the shop would ring me up and go, oh, such and such customer. I was like, oh, number 23, such and such down that road. And they were like, oh, yeah. And I was like, where's that come from? Wow. You know, like just like I could just recall things steady. It was crazy.
You know when we talk. Sorry, Ray, I just wanted to just get some clarity on this. So you say microdose. Are you still microdosing? Do you microdose for an amount of time? I've never microdosed in mushrooms or any kind of acid.
Yeah. So basically, what happens is your body tells you, doesn't it?
I think so.
Go through
Once
a
you get
cycle
used to
with
it.
it.
So basically, it's not an addictive thing, right? So you'll have them, and you think, right, I feel all right now. Because what you do is, right, what we were doing was we were having 4 days on, 3 off. So it gives your body a little bit tolerant, you know, to build the tolerance back up.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you just seem to naturally just like say, right, I've had my month's course now. I'll see how I feel, don't you?
Yes.
And it's not addictive, but what I found was the higher doses you take of it, the longer it is before you feel like you want
This is
anything
why I
else.
asked Chris, right? So I've never done microdosing with mushrooms and stuff, but I have done like heroic dosing.
Yeah.
And I have found with all my psychedelic movement now, I went through a period probably around 2011, 12, 13 where I probably set aside 2 times a year with a close couple of friends to basically do that thing I mentioned earlier where, you know, like face myself, it's scary, butterflies,
Yes.
oh my God, and have a deep run, right? Whether that was with mushrooms or DMT or Cambo even.
Yeah.
And I have learned now in my journey, and I think it's quite a universal thing, especially when you're doing it that way, which is why I'm interested in microdosing, because I have got to the stage now where I know I don't need to do that now.
Yeah.
Because the lessons that I've learned that I've needed, I know it'll come back around at some point, but as you mentioned, the gaps get longer and longer and longer because it's so profound. My wife will ask me this often, like, you know, tell me about it. What did you learn? You know, she'll come back after a trip when she took the kids out, and I'm like, it's love, it's all love, it's up there, it's all connected, and it's like you are it and I am it, and the fucking curbstones and the sea and the sand and the fucking, you know, like, and
You can't describe it, can you?
You can't.
it's profound like that. You can't describe it, but what I have learned over time is the profundity of it is how I have changed my perspective, how my compassion, my empathy, my point of perspective, my judgments have shifted profoundly based on whatever that ego-dissolving, fucking humbling thing is. And as you're getting older, I think that's happening to you as you're getting older as well, if you're in a congruent rhythm in your life, you know, like you. But it's absolutely profound when you do have those experiences. So microdosing is something I haven't done yet, which I like the sound of. Like pulling me back in here.
Yeah. I think, to be honest, I think it's one of them tools though that like, you do it when you need it. Yeah. It's not something like, oh, I'll give that a try. If you feel like you don't need it, don't do it. Yeah. But it's like I say, it's not something you'll be taking permanently. So here's a quick story, right? So basically, there was a lad who lives close to us. He's terminal cancer, right? And he had his own business selling trainers online, right? And basically what happened was I'd give my friend some microdose caps, right? And he'd basically, it was for his girlfriend who was struggling with a bit of depression, right? And he ended up, she didn't take them, right? There was obviously a bit of microphobia there, you know what I mean? Yeah. So what happened was he'd give them to this lad next door and said, listen, you're on yours, like, here you go, you know what I mean? Try this. He reckons within a month, he was back perked up. His business was booming again. And he'd only had a month's course of like 0.1s. And they reckon he was like just like on the, like, you know what I mean, he wasn't like down or depressed about what was happening. He was just back focused on his way of life again. But you know what I mean, it just changed his perception fully round.
It's like it can reach parts of our...
It does, though. Have you seen about what it actually does to the front of your prefrontal cortex?
Yeah.
How it just it puts a stopper on your thinking part of your head, so parts of your brain and things like stop operating as overfiring, if you will. But then what it does with the rest of it is it connects all of it up, so that's how you're able to see things slightly differently, feel slightly different, and it gets you off. This kind of, so for instance, if you've got stuck on a pathway of depression and your brain just loves repetition, so it stays on there, it gives you the same shit all the time. Mushrooms disrupts that, so you start able to think a different way, act a different way, so then you can get in these different behaviours, and that's how we can break down depression. Do you know what I mean? Which is what all the
research at MAPS is showing,
isn't it? It's
and it's getting
fantastic.
Closer and closer to becoming a socially accepted, societally accepted, you know. And again, that's what I wanted to get back to, because this is the beautiful thing you've just touched on with psychedelics, and how you only need to do it less and less. That's what pharmaceuticals don't do. Yes. Pharmaceuticals are absolutely necessary, and we're wonderful progress we've made. But ultimately, anything that's
profit off your
that is imitating nature will never actually give you the long-term natural effect. So what might happen with psychedelics, and this is why it's going to have a bit of a tricky time, because there's a lot of money in this game. But if you only have to do mushrooms 3 courses and you don't need to take them pills for the rest of your life, that's a financial situation that's going to have to be disrupted.
Yes.
But actually, if we're truly talking about the betterment of people and society and culture, then we have to take that turn, don't we? And we have to reshape business and make money somewhere else. Yes.
I mean, did you meet Morad at the last event? So, like, Morad's the head of clinical research for psychedelics in Newcastle, and he came down and did a talk at the event.
We couldn't jump.
I've recorded half of it.
All right. It'd be lovely to get that.
I saw it advertised, but we couldn't jump out the podcast in time.
He's lovely. I think he's coming down mine.
That was
Tuesday.
The first meet we went on. We went to see him, didn't we?
We were like, wow.
Yeah, we went to the Sunderland University for his talk, and it was amazing. Like, what a bloke he is.
So interested in that.
What a bloke he is. Like.
But I'll introduce you. He's lovely.
Listen, that is a rabbit hole. We've just followed the white rabbit there, and we'll carry. No, that's amazing. It's lovely, and I love that you've brought that up.
But that's what we do, isn't it? That's what we do this for, because these are conversations that, you know, people...
Well, it's pointless skimming the surface, isn't it? We might as well go deep with it, you know what I mean, and find out the true, why we do it and why we, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So, in the essence of going deep with questions and discussions, I have got a question for you. So we ask all the guests on this podcast a question, and it relates to the Northeast, and you're very passionate about the Northeast and Good Vibrations NE. And we're doing some fantastic things here. We've got some fantastic people in the region. I love this region, lovely place to live. And on the outside looking in, a lot of people think that we are the most friendly people in the UK. Yeah. However, we are struggling. This region is struggling with its mental health. We've got some of the most shocking statistics around poor mental health, and we've got some of the most shocking statistics around suicide. So, given what you now know and you've been through your own experience, why is it, do you think, that we as a region are struggling so badly?
I can tell you.
Go on.
I think drug abuse is a big one. I think cocaine is a massive problem. I've lost friends, and basically it's the debt and the basically it's like, well, obviously the addiction, but they get into holes. People didn't protect them, and then before they know it, it's out their hands, and you know they're getting these, and I would say 9 times out of 10 from my area, suicides have been down to coke addiction.
Wow. And this is Stanley.
Yeah. So obviously, I think nationally we've got an issue with drugs, particularly cocaine. Yeah. It's become like the drug of choice, hasn't it? Yeah. And I've seen it greatly.
It's cool to take it, that's why.
But I do get what you're saying, and I don't know, is there a correlation between, I'm from a little mining village, and I'm not, it's no exaggeration, like every other week I hear about somebody else is either really struggling with addiction or they've died through addiction, and it's only a little place. Is there a correlation between these little villages and addiction particularly?
Well, I think it's our culture, isn't it? Right, the drinking culture. You know, like what we're saying back to the mining villages, where did everybody meet? Back in the pubs.
Yeah.
So that's still there, just right.
Yeah.
So then what happens is, like they say, I've been involved with it, right? I'm not going to lie, I've done it, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, you know, they used to call it the 4-pint rule. You have 4 pints and you're in the toilet.
Make the call.
Yeah, right. And it's just like that is rife through every village because there's not a lot happening, so you find your own entertainment. So basically you're going to pubs, getting on it, then you're in somebody's kitchen till Sunday morning. Do you know, and like I said, I had a massive problem running football teams trying to get lads there. As soon as that hit the scene, it was just like it was impossible.
It's become this thing where, you know, I know lads where, you know, you used to go for a couple of pints on a Tuesday night, you know, and that would be it. A couple of pints and bit crack and whatnot. They'll not go out on the Tuesday night now because they cannot go out without a bag or two in their pocket.
Yeah.
So the couple of pints thing doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. For a lot of, it's not just a few people. I know it's a big thing, isn't it?
Prevalent.
Yeah. Or if you're going out, you're not just having a couple of pints, you're having a mad one on the yeah.
As soon as you have like what we're saying, the couple of pints, and then it's the next step, isn't it?
Make
you know
a
what I
call.
mean? Yeah. So how I got out of it, I'll be honest, I was rife on it, right? And how I got out of it, I just started taking the car out and stopped drinking.
Right.
I literally say, I'll drive. And that's what got me.
What's interesting with that, Chris, is you've had that internal strength, dialogue, voice, driver to actually do that. Because a lot of lads want to do that, but they just can't turn that corner.
It was hard. I'm not going to lie. Going to that first gig or the first few gigs, not like on the drink, was tough.
I did it.
And that's stigmatised though, isn't it? Because people are like, "Whoa, what's wrong with you?"
I get that all the time. I don't drink.
Well, I went to Durham yesterday with pals I hadn't seen for ages, and I had like both. I could hear them on the phone. I said, "Connell's not on the drink." You know what I mean? Like it was a shock.
Well, the ice guys, when we had the ice guys on, they said the same thing about, and you mentioned it, and hence sort of leaving your social circles because of sort of pulling you into something you don't want to do. That's one of the hardest things because your friends, you're holding a mirror up.
Yeah.
Because they know somewhere in them, even if they can't articulate it and don't think it, we all know we should not be doing shit things and we should be doing more healthily inspired things. But again, it's from a mirror, don't you?
Again, it's coming back to that.
Chris is a weirdo.
It's coming back to that being still and looking at yourself, isn't it? Isn't it? It's like people don't want to look in that mirror. No. They want to distract themselves.
Of course.
And you know what I mean? So
therefore, you must be a weirdo because you're not having a drink with the lads.
I've had that,
yeah. I did the same thing. I was similar. I was bagged up to the fucking gills.
Yeah.
And I was in a band, right? And I was having that. That's why I recognise that in you. Because
bagged up to the gills is a good name for a band.
Yeah, bagged up to the gills, yeah. Sam and the Bagheads, that's what it was. Right? I used to be in the tour bus, right? I would be in the tour bus and we'd be travelling back and I would be in the van with my band and whoever else might be with us and actually pulling it off where I wasn't getting involved, and you know, I guess I was the, I don't know.
That's difficult because you're in the eye of the storm there.
Yeah, and it was difficult, but I managed to do it. But do you know what I recognised about the few times when I'd slip and I'd get back in, my attitude when I was on gear, you know, we'd end up back in that kitchen.
Yeah.
I'd end up fucking, because my body knew that in my mind I'd rejected it. So my body, I was no longer having the crack and fucking, you know,
you went in on yourself.
I'd go in on myself, I'd fall asleep, or go just mong to fucking a corner. Someone would go, someone I'd fucking lash out because I now look back and think, well, I know that I had made this decision, but I'd put myself through it again.
Instant regret.
And then I would behave in a shitty way. Yeah. And it took a long time for me to then eventually realise, you know what, I've got to leave the band.
Yeah.
I've got to not be with these people. I love my brothers, I love this life, but I can't keep doing this. And even though I can pull it off to a degree,
but the torture you had to put yourself through to get out is
nothing
crazy,
worthwhile
isn't it?
is easy though, is it?
Yeah.
Nothing worthwhile is easy.
And I suppose that leads on to the next question is, for anyone listening that might be stuck in those cycles, or you know, they might be struggling, you've both been through your own journey with your own mental health, and you're on a journey now with the wellbeing side of things. Is there any advice that you could give, or one thing that's been a real catalyst for you that's really helped in your journey, if somebody was listening and they were looking for one thing to take from this?
With me, it was just having the courage to try things. So I think social media, although it can be an absolute nightmare, it can also be a gift because you can get to see lots of different things.
Hence how we've met.
Absolutely. So I would just say it's like whatever those people look like or what it is that you want to try, just have the courage to try these things. The people, your head, it's never as bad as what your head tells you it's going to be.
1,000,000%.
People within these sort of circles are usually very nice, welcoming people. They can see that you're going somewhere by yourself. With me, I was always going by myself.
Yeah.
And I always found people that were willing to come over and talk to us, make us feel welcome. And then you repeat it a couple of times, and before you know it, you're in those new circles and learn new things. And that's your little journey. There's no silver arrow, but it's a start. And if you keep chipping at it, you'll get there. You'll be that person that you want to be. Do you know what I mean?
It goes back.
It just takes time.
The last podcast we shot, we were talking about doing. You know, you can read all the self-help books, listen to all the podcasts. You can be knowledged up to the tits, but unless you go out and actually start doing something and making that change and making this group, this community that you've done, that's when things start happening, isn't it?
And it's a little bit uncomfortable at first.
And reaching
anything
out.
New is.
That is essentially what you're giving the listeners, Amy, isn't it? Is having the courage to try new things. You know what I mean? Yeah. Chris?
I would say just delegate time to have fun. You know what I mean? Like,
that's a big message.
I would say, like obviously, again, look, I watched the Jordan Peterson podcast, changed my mind, blew my mind. It was basically like, do things as you've done as a kid. You know, go back, ride your bike, play a bit of computer.
Yep.
Now again, I'm back playing pool. I used to play pool as a kid, get in the sea, jump off a rock into water. Do you know what I mean? Little things like that. It's nostalgic.
I used to play pool as a kid, but it was normally because my dad was in the bar. He'd do you a packet of bacon fries and 50 pence and off you'd be.
But that was one of Amy's big core values of setting this all up, is have fun.
Yes.
And I think you've got to not forget to have fun.
Yeah.
What a powerful message.
Yeah.
What a really powerful message.
And what a great chat. Yeah, you've been really I love by your own admission, and I put myself in this category, you know, because we are in this space of, like, you know, where there's a lot of, you know, even at your event, you know, a lot of cool people who've got all of, like, the tattoos, and, like, you can see these people are deep in, like, self-care and all that, and I feel a bit of a fucking chavvy chancer who's kind of like stumbled across a podcast, do you know what I mean, or whatever. And I love that you've come in here, and I think that's such an authentic thing, you know. And I can feel that from you.
I think if you try and be anything else but yourself, then people
It's not just people you know yourself. You're not happy if you're not yourself. You've got to figure out who you are.
You are a bridge, because there's a lot of us out there who are not kind of, we might think of the people who are in the wellness or doing well, that they are of a certain ilk or whatever, but no, just average bobs who are just thinking, do you know what, my path's maybe not taking me where I'd like to go.
Yes.
And you are a real conduit for, like, people, and hopefully those people are listening, or some of those people listening now, and they're going to check you out. Where will they find you if they're going to check you out? Where do they look?
Social media.
Come on, this is where you plug. This is where you plug all the fantastic stuff you do.
I don't need to plug anything. It's like half the time I'm not bothered if you come to me, if you go to here somewhere like this. You can go wherever the hell you want. It's figuring out what's right for you. But if you're wanting to go to a forum where some of these people are pulled together because you cannot find them, that's Good Vibes, and that's our event. And I've got no clue when the next one is. Anything else.
How would we find you on social media then?
It's Good Vibrations.
Good Vibrations.
NE UK. Yeah.
And that's on Instagram.
It's on Instagram and Facebook, but we've got a healthy distance from it as well. We can't be on that stuff all the time, messing with my head.
Could we just cover now how I found out about this event and we would be doing it? Could you tell us the story about how you found out about us?
So with, I don't know because I forget my story. I think what I was looking for is when you go to these events, you see lots of people, but to me, there's mint people just walking around who have got stories and all the rest of it. And at my first event, I brought somebody coming down and do a podcast who was absolutely fantastic and did a great job, but he was also talking to some of the practitioners who were experts in things there. But I wanted somebody who was more local, who was more focused in our area, who was kind of telling the story about what's going on around here, but I was a bit too last minute for you. I wanted somebody as well who could talk to some of those people who were at the event, and so we could share stories amongst each other, because I think sometimes that's also where the nuggets coming from. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's some mint people coming to the event,
networking and hearing,
knowing that you're all fucking fighting the same fight. Essentially,
it's mint and it's empowering. It gives you the butterflies. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I reached out for that initially because I saw what you were doing. I thought it was really authentic and it was nice, and just thought this seemed like mint crack. I'll just drop them a message and see where we go.
That's nice. That's nice.
I think you just got to try.
Crack. you guys have been cracking. I knew this would be a great pod.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I've honestly, thank you so much for coming on.
No, thank you for inviting us. We're like,
We're
And
just
I can't
returning the
wait-
favour. aren't we?
Yeah.
So if people follow you on socials or find out about the next Vibe into Wellness event, we'll be
Absolutely,
putting it on our
We'll link
socials as
everything
well,
in, yeah.
because we'll definitely be coming along, because I want to actually come and be more immersed in the event.
Yes.
But, look, I love what you're doing. I love what you're about. Big love.
Amy,
Thank
Chris,
you.
Thank
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Peace. Take
Cheers,
care.
thanks.
Thank you.